Must be fall. But it's still fall. Okay, you may begin. Well, thank you, sir.
I don't know. That is not a, very good thing to say.
Minimize my pages.
Yeah, you said you felt that. I should take a week's vacation.
Yeah.
Who knows what else happened.
Oh, I moved, sorry. I moved back the computer.
Don't run his fingers.
Run him over.
I'm gonna wait until Tech's out from under the table.
Tell them to go wireless.
You actually are wireless.
I can tell. I got ball and stuff.
Does that mean he's done?
What's that now?
Does that mean he's done?
Yes. And no, you can't put the Yankee game on here. I know they're playing the Red Sox, but you can't put the Yankee game on there.
That's what that's for.
Going down.
All right, sorry for the delay, folks. Only 3 minutes. Call the meeting to order. Stand for the pledge, please. Herb's going to lead us in the pledge tonight.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Herb. Making it for last meeting, you know.
Yeah, making up for the last one. Never go again. See that happen.
So everybody had a chance to review the clerk's minutes from the 9th of August. Any corrections, deletions, requests for changes of the clerk?
I think I just saw one typo.
No.
Yeah. Boat launch discussion. Oh, I think you referred to Julie as a he instead of a she or something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think it was just you. I'm pretty sure, unless it was something, I know it was just a typo.
I'll look at that.
We
I'm
will,
pretty sure it was that paragraph.
good catch. Any other?
Oh, good.
And sorry for the blank page and the,
Yeah, I wondered.
when I add a line, it moves everything down. These are the clerk's minutes. Public comment? Peggy?
I see that the trail's been started over there by Core Road. It looks really good. And I'm happy to see that in the works. I wanted to find out if you guys are still putting $10,000 a year away towards the Townsend Trail?
In the budget that there is a very draft budget that I'm obligated to hand out to the board. That's still just a draft budget. I believe I have, I think I could get to it quicker than that after staring at this for the last month and a half. So I brought my glasses, it might be. I believe there is 15,000 still in there. 15,000 from this year, 15,000, it's been 15,000 a year.
Okay.
Yep.
So with the grant money, then hopefully there'll be enough to blacktop, which you need the blacktop, so they don't have to continue to maintain what gets washed out all the time with the rain.
And again, it's depending on what the price of blacktop winds up at. You know, as oil goes up and down, it's very dependent on that.
I
And
just wanted to know if you were still putting money aside.
yes, that line has been renamed Townsend and Eagle Cliff. We've got a land purchase, a land gift actually from Very convoluted. It was my wife and I owned it at one point. We traded a lot with John Deming, who had a lot up at the end of Evans Road, and Mr. Deming requested that it go to the town, and within 5 years we were able to put a trail to the top of Eagle Cliff for handicap purposes. The town would retain the ownership of said land. I think we're on year 3 of that, so the clock's ticking on that one too, unless he's willing to extend it. But the goal is to finish the Townsend Trail before any money is put towards that. So it's, at least that's in the draft budget as that.
Okay, I have one more question.
Sure.
Have you guys heard anything about the, grant, or a grant for Fern Park?
Tag, you're at.
Yeah, sounds good. So Mike's been, sending me some projects in the works. Pickleball court, we've got the price out for the modifications to the trails. We've got price out for, playground. So we've got the pricing that we needed, and so now it's just a matter of finding the grant funds. So it's something I look at every day, looking to find out if there's ways to do individual grants for each one of those types of things, or combining them into a large grant for whatever, So.
So it's just waiting for information on the grant, and you have no idea when that's going to happen.
Yeah, and we got through the first, and kudos to Mike for getting all those, that pricing together, which is tough to do. Now it's just a matter of finding the right fit. And sometimes you find the right thing and it's just like perfect, and there's other times where you kinda have to shoehorn it in there, so. I'm working on it.
And depending on whether the board approves or not, putting the cart ahead of the horse, but I've added money to 2 lines in Fern Park with the hopes that at some point we do get a grant and we will have money. It's not money I'm looking to spend each year. It's hoping to build. I mean, this is what we did with the highway garage. For 10 years, we put money aside so that we'd have money to outfit the highway garage when we were able to build it. So, I anticipate grant projects anywhere from 2 to 5 years, and each year that we don't have a grant, we're hopefully building money towards that. And as we know, my adding probably $5,000 or $6,000 to a line in the budget isn't going to give us a pickleball court real quick, but it will offset it if we have matching that we need to do. I don't know if that sounds. Okay. Did you have anything you wanted to report out on the Townsend Trail? Your meeting with Jane?
Oh, just, yeah, that, Jane said I don't need the signature, the social security numbers on the TRP forms. I can get an affidavit from the people that they're not willing to provide their social security number. So, all the affidavits went out to people that weren't willing to send TRPs back, which was just about everyone. So I'm just waiting to get affidavits back.
And you actually went over and met with Jane?
Yes, I went and saw Jane,
In
and we, kind of sat down to try to figure out what we could do, make it work.
So Bonnie, that guy across the street is there.
I know, I saw him. I already tried to stop and nobody answered, but I will get him.
Yeah, because if we can get him, they can nip across his driveway and connect to the crosswalk, which would be huge. I mean, and while the equipment's there. Oh, Sean's not here. Did I say that out loud? Don't you dare rat me out. Or this might. And if anybody really likes those couple of things I've already mentioned in the draft budget, as I hand this out to the board members, corner them at your will.
Is that number in brown or green or red?
I'm colorblind. Don't. It should be in some form of light blue or whatever. And again, we're going to be setting the budget meetings. This isn't to try not to distract yourself too much. I've handed it out to you. I've ended my obligation per New York State. I've handed it to you. It's yours to rip apart, come back, and later in the meeting we're going to schedule budget session. Okay. Public comment. We're still on public comment. I stepped away from it. Anybody else? Public comment? I've got listed down here summer parking. I appreciate the comments I've seen online from people, Julie especially, and I know Adele's sounded in on it. It was an interesting summer. I think that we have a start on what we need to do. I know Dan and Herb have been working on getting me a bigger parking lot, moving a telephone pole, correct?
We're working on that still, correct? That's
Yes,
not-
we are.
That is
Yeah,
maybe,
our parking lot needs paving and sealing anyways, at some point. I mean, so now's the time to do something with it and get it a little bit bigger. Highway did finally get in the signs, ordering things. It still takes a little while, apparently. We're still not over the excuse that everybody and their brother is using pandemic ordering stream. Quite honestly, I don't get it. If people are willing to go back to work, let's get stuff moving in the pipeline, but
I don't think they ever go back to work.
it was wishful thinking on my part. It's probably actually just, what do you call that? Anyways, a misstatement. But the parking signs are up, and I understand that they have been using them at the upper church. I think you had commented on that, right? Yes, Julie.
Yep, at the Adirondack Kids Day meeting the other day, Sue mentioned that the sign was up and she's noticed an increase in the people parking.
No problems, I hope?
No,
Okay.
no, she just asked about the upkeep, you know, she made a joke like, oh, they're gonna help me with the upkeep, and I said, well, you had mentioned something at one point, right?
Yes.
And so that's why I emailed you and Sean to see what is available, and she didn't, I have no idea what that takes. I felt like she wasn't really asking for much, I think she just asked if it would be raked twice a year.
I mean, depending on the use and the wear and whatnot, I'm sure that Sean would be willing to look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, we maintain the church parking lot down here so that we can maintain our shared use of that space. And they were a little bit grumpy when the sign went up, even though I had cleared it with 3 or 4 people. I didn't clear it with 500 people. But they've always had an issue there. Doesn't matter if we've got signs up there or they try and close the parking lot off. Summer is summer. And if they've got a big wedding, people are going to be walking from far away at any of the churches around here. Quite honestly, I think we're still up against the situation that even though we might have had all the stores open in the 50s, 60s, and into the 70s, we didn't have as many cars in town because people were climbing in as a family rather than let's meet with our 5 cars in town as a family. But I think this summer, more than any other summer, I saw more people walking. So I think the cottage colonies are doing a good job of getting that message out. The weather was cooperating. And from my vantage point at my house in the kitchen window, it seemed like people were coming and going at a regular clip. It wasn't like they were taking up spots too long.
So John, there's a potential for 2 more parking spots downtown if the white lines could be taken away where the tents and tables are, because nobody's pulling in and out of there like they are somebody's driveway.
Between the woods?
You know,
over here,
Oh,
I'm just talking
oh,
about here,
oh.
since it's not a road anymore,
It's
it
not
doesn't
Yeah.
really need
No.
to be blocked off.
by Caboose and then across the street at Mary's, between Mary's and the building that they just refinished, there's no drive-through there, or no driveway.
The interesting thing with that area, though, is for some reason people seem to think that concrete snowmobile crossing is a crosswalk. They're led like lemmings right to it, and I'm not trying to say that meanly, but I mean I've stopped there more than any place else because people just walk out into the road thinking that's a crosswalk.
There could be 2 more parking spots if the white lines are gone.
I understand that, but we've also been asked for a crosswalk there. And if we put a crosswalk in there, those lines actually have to kind of stay there because just like up by the antique store that used to be Coasters, it's been a million things, the alpaca store or whatever, either side of the crosswalk, you've got to have that clear zone. Same in front of Greco's Furniture. So either we don't make that a crosswalk and paint over them black so that it is 2 more spots.
Who decides that it's gonna be the state or the?
Yes, that would be the state, that would be Sean talking to the local rep and seeing what we can get, and hopefully before they come through and paint it, but they usually follow what's on their engineering plan from the last time the road was redone.
So is there any way they can put paint in front of the post office where the lines are, 15-minute parking? People do not see those signs.
Is anybody else here that met with the DOT with me?
I was there.
We asked repeatedly, and we got, and that's all they would give us. Repeatedly we asked for 15-minute parking, we asked for handicap, we asked for painted on the road, and they wouldn't do it.
Well, and they
It's tough
wouldn't,
for somebody that's handicapped to take their nap.
You don't have to explain that to me.
And they wouldn't put up, they talked about putting posts up with signs, but they were saying it would be too tight for people to come in. People would be hitting the posts and stuff, so that's why the sign is up, you know.
They're too high.
That's,
They're-
yeah.
That's why I said nobody sees them because they're out of your vision.
Maybe they could just be moved at some point in time. Anyways, any other public comment? Hearing none. Communications. I have the good news to report that supposedly blasting and drilling started yesterday. I didn't hear anything, but I do know for a fact that the equipment has been dropped off up there. They've got a bulldozer, they've got a loader, they've got a backhoe, and they're bringing in gravel left and right. Their goal is over the next 2 weeks to trench, bore, drill the pad site and the power drop. That's going to be buried cable all the way from the top of the cliff down to Limekiln Lake Road. Now, National Grid, on the other hand, hasn't confirmed as to whether or not they're going to come with the cable and put. Have you heard anything, Chip? No. We've got both the landowner's approval, Chip and his wife, and Dave Corsani. They're going to be burying 500 feet of cable, a box, 500 feet of a cable box, all the way from Limekiln Road, all the way to the top. Mr. Corsani has expressed to me and to Tarpon his displeasure with the fact that that trench might be left open. So hopefully Tarpon has a magic wand they can wave over National Grid's head. Very frustrated with National Grid. But things are starting, and Tarpon still plans on having a tower or both towers up by the end of the year. That said, without a power line going to it, they won't be much good.
Well, they got a good generator, they can start with that.
There you go.
I'm looking for approval from the board tonight to be able to pass along quotes as they come in from CNS Engineering for the shelter, for the generator, and for the propane tank. This is so that we can utilize the grant money from the Northern Borders grant that we got a couple years ago, the $450,000. The two towers are going to be owned, the towers themselves are going to be owned by the town. We won't own the land underneath them, and we won't own the equipment on them other than what we hang, but the towers will be ours. Tarpon will be responsible for taking those towers down, but I need permission from you to accept bids that Northern Borders Grants deems worthy of submission.
Just for equipment or install as well?
That is for the equipment. We're gonna have to handle the install. Any labor is gonna have to be done by bid, by contract, so that we make sure we do prevailing wage.
Separately of the tower project?
Equipment is being purchased through the process, and the Northern Borders people, which is a federal line of money,
Right.
has approved us getting prices for equipment. Anytime we have to talk about installation and labor, then we've got to go back to New York State for, out of our crowdsource funding, that Denny and the Tower Committee raised. It's going to pay for the labor and the money that we've been putting in the budget for the last 5 years, $25,000, $20,000, and $15,000 a year. Anyways, I need permission from the board to pass along quotes, and if Northern Borders accepts them and I'm deemed worthy of that, I mean, it's going to be in the range of $150,000.
Oh,
I'll second it.
But it's for those three pieces of equipment. And trust me when I say we have to follow all procurement policy to do that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. That's it for communications. Although I will add the caveat that when Verizon was going on the tower behind the church, things got up, things looked good, but it still took about 6 months before we got service, if I'm not mistaken. So the optimum time for a service will be January or February, but the realistic will probably be June or July for AT&T and T-Mobile and our emergency communications needs. All right, Assessor Codes Parks Building is attached. Does anybody have anything from their committees that they would like pointed out from that? Mike's here due to weather tonight. He'd rather be racing go-karts right now, raising money for a fire truck. Anything from Parks, sir? Okay. Again, I've got on here that, you know, we still have a Parks employee out. We've been looking for temporary help. Back to that comment that we made earlier, it doesn't seem like anybody wants to work. We haven't gotten very many applications. That brings us to Highway. Sean's not here. He was supposed to be at the race tonight, and he must be still down on Old Forge wondering why it's not working.
Waiting his turn.
I told him I was going to get him if he didn't come tonight. They've been busy. Do you have his report to read?
Yeah, do you want me to read it, or it's attached to the agenda?
What's that? You'd attach it to the agenda?
Yeah.
It's attached to the agenda then. I will point out that he's still looking to hire. He had one of his personnel go down to the codes office, and he believes he has one candidate that he's going to be looking at next week.
Okay.
Transfer station, we're not ready to do the winter hours yet. It's still 7 days a week until you see the sign go up. That brings us,
See the 1st of November.
yes, the 1st of November,
So that everybody
after our next
who's
meeting,
wondering, yeah.
after our
I
next
understand,
meeting.
but people who might be wondering.
Brings us to town clerk.
Alright, my monthly report was $43,594.42. 28,000 of which was sewer and 13,000 was cottages. Oh, Amy, am I doing these, charging station proposals, or you?
Either one of us.
You.
Whatever you get to.
Okay, well, when we get to that one, I'll let you do it.
They're in your
Um,
papers,
I just had it in case I was
Yeah.
supposed to.
just trying to be helpful.
And I have a letter here from Georgia, the court clerk, for justice. Good evening, the Inlet Justice Court is looking for approval from the town board to apply for a 2022-23 JCAP grant through the Unified Court System. Items looking to be included in the grant this year will include the replacement of the furniture in the judges' chambers. The Inlet Town Court is looking for authorization from the town board to apply for a JCAP grant in 2022-23 cycle up to $10,000. If approved, please pass a motion for the Inlet Town Court to complete the justice grant application.
Think we could ask them to add that fingerprint scanner?
That would be nice, but I'm not sure that could come from courts.
Yeah, I know.
It comes from the Department of Criminal Justice Services,
Isn't it all part of courts though, eventually?
not in this state, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'll make
Okay.
Further discussion?
Let's see here, what else I have?
I gotta vote on it too.
Aye.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
So that, was all for me, other than what you had done.
I think last month I wasn't here, but I gave you the quote from the Green Company, for the plug-in stations, which were
Ridiculous.
way over. Dan introduced me to, I'm sorry, I forgot his name, but he was from Plug-in Stations, he met with us last week, myself, Dan. We met in 3 locations, Arrowhead, just in case we did do the property, increase the parking lot, if we wanted to dedicate 2 spots here. But that one's pretty high because of the power. We do have power. I did go look at the site you suggested over by Sala's. There's no transformers there to plug into. There's the bigger kind we need.
Oh.
But it still may be a possibility, but the best bids were for the school and, Fern Park. These are standard chargers, the 3-hour kind. The one at the Fern Park is putting it on the building itself, the shed, which would get wiring run to that shed, which Mike said he could use. It would include though probably moving that Zamboni out of there or selling it or something to make room for the electrical stuff that would go in there. That bid came in at $57,800. $5,734. The school, however, again, had the best bid. The school is on a different type of, grant. And their charging station came in at $14.9505. So the school board were presenting that, right, at the meeting tomorrow night? So I don't know, but the school would be the best place to put one, it's the
Yep.
easiest hookup, it's the, but it's just whether they have the funding and wanna approve this. We can charge back to make up this money we'd spend, whether at Fern Park or the school, but it would take a while, it's,
There's already gonna be a charge, right? It's not free charging anyways. These are the same ones they have to
These
scan in.
These are not including the DEC grant, these are just including the NYSERDA grant, which is the Make Ready program.
Right, but I'm at the charging stations themselves, when you walk up and plug your car and it's not free.
Right, you set
Yeah,
up a
yeah,
charging,
yeah.
um,
Yep.
the DEC grant wants you to have free charging for 2 years, but we didn't apply for that.
We have not applied for that. So, the ZEV, grants are open, they're due October 10th. Each location, so if you decided that you wanted to put one at the school, one at Fern, one at Arrowhead, each one is a separate, application. It is a bit of a cumbersome process, however, they will cover 90% of the install if you do qualify. It's highly competitive, and we're a little bit late in the season, so, you know, some of that money may or may not be in there. It does require bridge funding, so if you would have to pay full boat up front, and then you'd be reimbursed for that afterwards. It is a high impact action through Clean Energy Communities, so that does work towards a $20,000 high impact grant, which I think we've got in Inlet maybe 2 already, so this would maybe bring it up to the 3rd. And if you had 4, then it opens you up for a $20,000 grant. So that is something that it does go in that direction. Town of Webb just installed 3 from PISO EV, and that's kind of how I've been working with Brandon. And when we saw that crazy, like $200,000 grant, was like, okay. And what Town of Webb is doing, they've got one at the Macaulay, at Eagle Bay Visitor Center, and at the Old Forge bathrooms. They are charging an hourly rate. And the average in New York State is between $1 and $2.50 an hour. So it is a potential source of income, and you can change that with the software very easily depending on time of year. You can make it free for local residents with a code. There's different options if you end up investing in an electric vehicle as a town per se. So these are all sort of considerations that it could be a source of revenue.
So when you swipe in, it tracks how much power you've taken and you're billed for that on your card?
Usually it's a flat rate.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'd set a flat rate most of the time. If you put a penalty on there for, you know, if your car's parked there for more than 3 hours, it'll charge you $20 or something like that to encourage people not to just sit there the whole time. And at this point, I have no point of reference because tomorrow is when those other chargers are supposed to be turned on. The Tesla charger at Great Pines, I think Woods in, I don't know if they're charging.
Oh, so they've been in, but they're not operational, the ones in Eagle Bay.
Correct.
Oh,
Tomorrow, they're gonna be operational.
right after summer. Sorry.
They might have done that on purpose.
$2.50 an hour. So, you know, I think the average cost we looked at for an hourly charge would be like 28 cents. So the other $2.22 an hour goes towards the budget, basically.
And none of those DEC ones you were talking about that close out in October, those aren't the high-speed chargers either. They're all the same, the 3-hour charge.
They can be. Indian Lake got a fast charger at like a $250,000 cost, with that grant. But they did, last year the guy never got back to me until the grant was closed. This year I wasted months with that green team, and when he got back to me, like if we would have applied in the spring, we probably would have been on the list and possibly could have gotten enough for the fast charger. But they think it's gonna come back, so
Okay.
it's the kind of thing, if we wanted the fast charger and we went with his bid, we could supply apply that with the grant, whether we get it or not next year, I don't know.
And the only reason I'm asking is I know the county has decided to purchase its first truck, Ford EV vehicle. They call them the Ford Lightning? Ford Lightning. They're actually getting really good reviews, and the writing's on the wall. We're going in that direction.
Can you make it from there to Inlet and back?
Yes.
Barely.
Yeah. Without an issue, unless it's really hot or really cold, or they're towing something really. There all these ramifications
I
come in.
Randy with the wipers
It's
on.
never really hot here or really cold.
So are you
Really
saying
cold
it's a
out.
$250,000 install,
Yeah.
$2 an hour in return, you pay that back?
No, the grant covered 90% of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that would leave
The
us,
DEC grant, between the DEC grant and the NYSERDA or National Grid's Make Ready,
so that'd leave us like 25,000 if you could this year.
it would leave 90, it would cover 90%.
Yeah, and again, hopefully with the smart growth or smart communities or the climate, I get the title mixed up all the time, but we've got a 5,000 coming back right now, right?
As soon as I take the class next month.
Sorry. And possibly the 20. I mean, none of these things are gonna be money makers or big money holes for us. Hopefully there's enough pass-through money that we can get our feet wet with some of this stuff and be prepared so that we know what we're looking at. And again, this is all new technology. I don't care how long Tesla's been here, these others have been here, the Priuses, it's still in its infancy. You know, this stuff is, our kids are gonna be driving these things and their kids are gonna be driving these things. So let's try and figure out where we are. And people coming here are going to be looking for this stuff. Again, I think Fern Park is still the best spot, and the school is the best spot, just because, you know, that user group is going to be looking for it.
Actually, a Tesla pulled in the day we were looking and was parked there to hike.
Yep. So
So how long does it take to charge a vehicle with a fast charge?
A fast charger is like 20 minutes.
yeah, you can get something like 70% charge in 20 minutes or half an hour, something like that. Not a full charge, but you know, you can top off and get to where you're going the next stop.
Less than an hour.
Yep.
It'll take you weeks to travel anywhere.
Right now, yes. But again, I'm sure everybody's seen the pictures on Facebook of the guy with the generator on the back of the tow hitch, or dragging 16 solar panels behind him or whatever. That's all very humorous, but again, this stuff is meant for short duration or somebody that's dedicated that can find that hotel and restaurant hopping across the country.
Yeah.
It's there.
Dan, you said that it'll charge for an hour and it costs 28 cents? Is that what you said?
You guys mixed up superchargers and the chargers that we were looking
Okay, but the regular chargers only take 28 cents worth of power in an hour?
Yeah, something like that. So anything that you charge above and beyond that amount is yours to keep as a.
It just sounds like an awful low amount of electricity.
That's-
all.
Based on the.
I don't know anything about it, just sounds low to me.
It's gonna depend on,
Just facts.
So it's an inverter type thing, it's doing whatever, yeah.
it's like plugging it into your wall at home. I mean, in
Sure.
essence,
So if when the electric rates.
Can't believe you
go
could
up,
run a light bulb for 28
That's what I'm
cents.
saying.
No, I just-
That is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and again, but then you change your software. If you've got them, change it. If it's 6 years from now, it's gone through the roof and it's cost them $4 to charge it, charge $6.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just can't believe the way power's gone up this year, you know, that it's 20,
I still think there's a lot of
there's fuel
money
going
being
on.
thrown at it to get people into the game.
yeah, and
so-
I think to some degree.
It's
that-
subsidized
that average-
somewhere.
That average cost also too might be across New York State. So if energy is cheaper in a larger city, you know,
Yeah.
per capita, I don't know how that's calculated.
I know my electric bill at the store is at $5,000.
Well,
So I just,
I'm just hoping that we don't wind up with demand meters on these EV chargers.
yeah.
All right, we've
yeah, you might get to that point.
we've probably been going round and round on this, but we're still we're interested. You need a yes from the board to move forward at this point?
It's the Fern Park one is the one you're leaning to, that's the $5,734.
And the nice thing about that is we get power over to that shed that Mike could use.
And I do already have we did, the last guy did apply in that Make Ready grant from National Grid is gonna pay $13,986 of that
Very good.
for the
So they're running this
installation.
power, they're paying to run the power?
That's all in the
It's
quote.
all in there.
Okay.
It's all in the quote.
What the bottom line for the town, if we didn't, we're not gonna get the DEC grant, is the $5,700.
And if we get the DC grant, then it'll be a lot lower,
Mhm.
right?
What'd you say?
If we get the DEC grant on top of it.
It would be less.
It's a no-brainer, yeah.
Or if you wanna table it and see if we can submit these with the DEC grant and they table us to next year.
The only thing is just that if we do wanna hit that October 10th deadline, if you all say, yes, we're willing to go through with this.
Yes.
Regardless of getting the grant or not, I can write the grant, if we table it, we'll just miss that deadline and we'll have to put it off for another year and you'll eat the cost anyways if you wanna go forward with this, so.
I would like to make a motion to not exceed ultimate out-of-pocket expense of $6,000 for the EV station in Fern Park. I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? Again, hoping that we do get the grant, but know that we will be out of pocket some money and we will have bridge money that we will have to pay until we get reimbursed, correct? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So carried. Thank you.
We missed two things on highway, and I can't remember the other thing. He wanted a trailing.
Oh, yes, well, he's gotta get me quotes, and I don't think he's got me quotes yet.
Okay, I don't know if you just wanted to mention.
Yeah, he's got equipment money still, and we've been talking since the beginning of the year of getting a trailer so that we can take the excavator. I don't know about the backhoe, if it's gonna fit on that weight-wise, but at least get, what's that?
I don't think so.
No, otherwise they gotta go for that other class license, right? Above 10,000?
Yeah, bigger trailer.
So that we don't have, so that we're not hauling the, some of our equipment around in the back of the, C&D bins. Looks a little janky. I think he's talking somewhere around, he had,
8,000?
yeah,
I'm
about
looking to see
8,000.
if he gave me something.
Yeah, about 8,000. But he's gotta bring quotes, so just so you're forewarned that he is looking. And we still have money in the budget for, another bin for, the transfer station. In our process of replacing them, and that's in the budget, so I've told him to find the best price.
The other thing was, two above ground, he wants to trade in 2 above ground propane tanks for an underground propane tank.
Weren't you supposed to talk to him about that? No, he didn't tell you? Oh, dang. Yeah, we've got 2 wicked old propane tanks up there. I'm sure everybody's seen them driving by the building. And we've got an offer to take those off our hands and give us a brand new one that can be buried behind the highway garage. To me, that's a no-brainer.
Did you say give?
It's a wash, a trade, an even trade for 2 used above-ground propane tanks that are our property for one that would be our property that would be buriable, brand new.
I don't think that's a
Similar-
problem.
Similar size?
It's sized out for, it's similar to the one that we put in, the buried one for the generators at the,
Okay.
yeah, sorry. New for used.
Do you need a motion?
Yeah, a motion would be nice on that.
I make motion.
What's that?
Would be a good idea to have them there because that other one freezes up when you're drawing some.
Yep, too much, yep.
So you got a heater on it.
We have a motion,
I'll second.
second, discussion. Again, that's 2 used above ground for 1 new in ground. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So carried. Anything else?
Just don't forget police.
I'm not, he's sitting right out there.
Okay, just wanna make sure.
I didn't take anything, so I don't need the Narcan right now. Tag, you're it, sir.
Alright, we received this email at the police department from this gentleman named Patrick. He's with Four Rivers Alliance in Hamilton County, and he's looking, they're starting this project across Hamilton County. They wanna install, Narcan boxes. They put 3 in so far. One is in, Speculator, and there's 2 in Indian Lake. So he reached out, was wondering if Inlet would be interested in 1 or 2 of them, and I said we would have to discuss that and see. They're gonna have to be indoors, accessible to the public, but you can't leave them outside because that stuff will freeze. So, we have them at the police department, we have them in the patrol cars, they have them at the firehouse. I don't know where, other than this building, where else they could go.
I mean, I'm looking out through the door where our defibrillator is, and that seems to be the spot to wanna put one.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Oh, water's dripping.
Air conditioner.
Oh.
Pretty good.
Spoke too soon.
So I told him I would speak to you guys, the board, and get your opinion, and if you wanted them installed. We did, this summer there was an overdose that occurred at Limekiln Lake at the campground, and we also assisted web guys with two that occurred there in the fast track parking lot, so it's, you know, it's not like this stuff isn't happening, it's happening here. We do have it in the town accessible, but it's accessible by us or at the fire department. There's no pharmacies in town where they could get it in this town, they'd have to get it from Kinney's in
And-
Old Forge, so,
And I believe these are covered by the, is it the Good Samaritan? No,
yes.
the Good Samaritan law?
Yeah.
So, I mean, are they putting them in commercial locations?
He didn't tell me where it was where they were.
So it's just accessible to anybody?
Correct.
Yes, same as our defibrillator out there.
Okay.
Except when we're closed.
And
Don't know anything about it.
Narcan doesn't, just so you all know, Narcan, all it does is reverse the effects of opiates to the brain, that's all it does.
Right, but-
It blocks the receptors in the brain that, from the opiates affecting you, and it totally reverses it. If you're not using opiates, it has zero effect on anybody.
Oh.
None.
So that would keep somebody from just coming and stealing it.
That's what it's for people to come take it, they need
Right.
absolutely for people to come take it, yeah.
So then they can go get high and somebody else can do that?
That is exactly,
Unfortunately, yes. That's why, you know, when I ask commercial locations, I'm hesitant to put it at Easy Mart, you know, even if they wanted it. But unfortunately, those are the locations, you know, by 24-hour pumps that, you know,
can't put it outside.
I understand.
Yeah, and it's the same problem with the fire hall. You'd have to put it outside because there's not always somebody there.
Access
It
thing or
just seems like
something.
it's.
What about my lobby
encouraging.
again?
What's that?
so,
Yeah.
It just seems like it's encouraging.
I completely understand your point of, what your train of thought. There's also the train of thought of the family members that have those that are addicted to those drugs that they can't seem to.
Break the
those
addiction.
things take a hold of somebody and it makes them do things that they're different people. So for a family member, knowing that their loved one has an addiction to an opiate, most of the time these days it's fentanyl. Heroin is becoming not even a thing these days. Everything that's on the street that's sold it contains fentanyl, if a person uses opiates. So, you know, the only thing that's gonna bring those people back sometimes is Narcan, and sometimes it's 2, 3, you know, one dose of that sometimes isn't enough. So, and we also honestly have it at the police department for our own safety, in the
Oh,
event
yeah.
that we come in contact with it. We don't have that tolerance to opiates, so one simple exposure to us is gonna be deadly.
And that brings up the other point. If we put it next to the defibrillator, if we get somebody dropping something in here that's got it on, I mean, the trace contact with this stuff is unbelievable. So it would almost be here for our protection as well, just like it is for their protection. You know, God forbid somebody gets that angry at the town hall and sends in, you know, to me, that's no problem. Go ahead, send it. I'm just kidding.
A child picking up something on the playground, you know, that's left, that you don't know what happens here at night. And residue could be someplace, and I'm only saying that because I read an article about a child from people doing drugs on the drop-down changing pad in a restroom, and a woman setting her baby down, and the baby having an overdose of it, just by absorbing it.
Driving around the country last year, my wife is handicapped. We use the handicapped bathrooms in the restrooms. I cannot tell you how many times we're knocking on the door of the handicapped bathroom, and a 20-something-year-old male comes out of the handicapped bathroom after 10 minutes, looking pretty wild and gone. It makes you wonder what you're doing going in to use the bathroom. It happened more than once. Well, Bonnie raised an interesting point. Maybe one in her entryway and one up here. And the entryway would be open
24.
Yeah, see, that's what I was trying to think, the
And
most
this one would be in-
accessible place that's inside, that's open, the
Yeah.
post office, your entryway, something like that, because the fire department would be the perfect place for it, but there's no place where you can keep it heated, where it's not locked up, so I like the entryway idea.
That's heated?
It's not
Two.
heated, but it stays pretty warm, yeah, once I close the windows.
So how
We
soon?
put one up here and one down there.
Cause when this office.
Okay,
is
folks,
closed-
one at a time. Sorry.
So if somebody overdoses on fentanyl, on an opiate, you need to catch them before the brain damage occurs due to lack of oxygen. So an opiate slows down the respiratory system, and that's where the death occurs. There's brain damage from the lack of oxygen. So it's within,
6 to 7 minutes.
Well, I mean, we've got this. It's at no cost to us, and God forbid we need it and we don't have it, we have an option to have it.
Yeah, like I said, we have it at the PD. I know they have it at the fire department.
Yeah, but that's not accessible to fire department.
No,
It is
but
not
that's,
accessible.
but that's for your fire department members.
For responders.
For-
Hang on one second, Julie.
Something we have it.
Correct, we have it for that, but what I'm saying is, it would be nice to be able to have it accessible there, it's just not, with it being able to freeze, it's not gonna work.
You'd have to build out a window box or something like
Yeah.
that,
So,
internal.
town hall would be the
Who
spot.
resupplies this and?
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. Who's the oversight on this?
Well, he reached out because, he heard that we were looking here. We stock in the PD here and web PD from, EMS, what's the EMS in, Utica? Mid-State EMS. So they just give you get it by the case, they'll give it to you. When we need more, I just fill out a form, go down and grab more. This would be much more convenient if he's coming to town to bring it to me, I don't have to go to Utica to get it, so. It's successful, I could go to Kinney, you could walk into Kinney's
And get, right.
anybody.
So is that like an EpiPen?
No, it's,
Mist,
it's
isn't
a
it?
mist for the nose, it's nasal spray. It's
Um,
also an injection. but-
We give it IM, cause we were throwing away, that expires really fast. So,
What does?
the mister expires faster than
Oh.
the,
Mhm.
IM stuff, so I think that's why we switched to that. We were throwing it out, cause it was expired.
Do we need a motion for this?
Yes, yes.
I'll offer a motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
If discussion, I'm fully in favor of something that could help somebody, or help us if we need it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. I'm sorry, Julie, you did have your hand up.
Well, I think it's a great idea, but, I just had a question, if it's gonna be, like, say, in Bonnie's little entryway there, is it gonna be quote-unquote advertised? Like, will there be a sign letting people that are walking by, cause what if you don't go in that entryway for any reason? How will people know it's there?
So it's in, the picture been out with the email, but he sent me a picture, it's got signage and it's a large, it's a pretty good sized bright red box.
Is there a window sticker?
He didn't say, he didn't specify what that.
Put it right above the UPS.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
something as they're walking by, it
Sure.
just catches their eye,
Mhm.
just so people know, but I think it's a great idea,
So is that also at Bonnie's office open 24/7?
Yes.
It's an unfortunate time that we're in that we need to do this, but it needs, unfortunately, it needs to be done.
And I keep the light on 24/7, so people would see it, and it's a good spot because people walk down that sidewalk and it's right, my door is right there.
So someplace close to the door would be a good place to have it.
Mhm.
And again, I neglected to introduce Sergeant Linfield to the room. If you haven't met him, is it okay to call you Toby, sir? Toby, he's our new addition to the force recently, and he's been bringing good things to town. So thank you for researching this and handling it. And he's got a hunter safety class coming up, don't you?
I do, yeah, October 1st, we're gonna be teaching hunter safety up at the firehouse, yeah. Myself and, a guy that I taught it with at the United County Sheriff's Office, Mark Chrysler, he's gonna come up and help me.
Nice.
Very good. Thank you, Toby.
Yeah.
All right, I lost my screen. Come back screen. Scheduled budget work sessions. I've handed you my dream budget. Okay, before we dive into that, but it's part of the budget process. I see our snowmobile representative sitting, hanging out behind the parks representative. Are you guys in cahoots on anything?
Not yet.
Not yet?
We're gonna be though.
What can I skipped right over you? So what can we do for you, sir?
The heater for the garage.
Yes, you do.
Boiler burned or it's got a leak. I did get a quote from Homer's, it's the only one I got. It's $2,700 for a propane heater. With a Modine saw hanger.
And you know, with the high cost we've been paying wood for the past couple of years.
It's all good hardwood though.
It's all good hardwood. I believe we actually have some in inventory you're gonna have to surplus.
We also have a wood splitter that we can.
Yeah, didn't we just buy that wood splitter? Did we put the order in for that like 3 months before the boiler burned its bottom out? Timing is everything.
I figured I sell that for $1,000.
Yeah, so if you sell the wood splitter, you sell the wood, you paid for the furnace.
Pretty
That's all I
much.
see it.
That's in Salford?
They're almost, what do they eat, what do they do? Huh? 32?
Yeah.
30 quarter wood up there.
So how about a motion to surplus the wood, the splitter, and to order? Yeah,
Is that an install price? Oh.
yeah. It's a combination motion. Surplus the wood splitter, and to order that from Helmer's because we need to get it in before the heating season.
And you figure you can get it in
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Okay, Herb made the motion.
And whatever we get.
You wouldn't have
profit
to use the
on,
word
we're
surplus,
good.
though, would you?
Well, we're gonna put it
The
out. for
splitter's
bid.
not very old, so you could put it out for bid, I think you
I would put
Put it-
both-
put it out to
both
bid.
out for
Put 'em
bid.
out for
The
both-
wood and
both.
the splitter.
Yeah.
I mistakenly used the word surplus.
Yeah, well, that's what you would use when we get rid of things, they call it surplus.
Thank you.
That's what they call it. But, you know, and I don't know if you wanna put a minimum bid on the splitter just because, or whatever, but.
We usually do very well on that Auctions International.
You wanna do that or you wanna sell it local in the paper? Because I usually have somebody that'll buy it right now.
And as long as it's at a going price.
Well, I figured that would be better than $1,000 for the wood splitter.
All right.
That's, if,
All right.
that's why.
Okay.
Yeah,
What did we pay for it?
15.
We just bought it last year. Is it
Yeah.
last year?
yeah, haven't used it yet. Haven't changed the oil yet.
The wood, what's that? It's gotta be worth
Good time to sell it.
$150.
Any value in getting rid of the boiler
Just scrap.
for parts?
Um,
I don't know. I know the burner.
Put new, circulating pumps on it last year.
Anyways,
Everything.
surplus that as well. A minimum of 1,000 on the splitter.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
I'd say
Oh.
at least 1,000 for the wood.
yeah.
So you made the motion. Did anybody second it?
Not yet.
I don't know if we're gonna get a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, there's a second. Further discussion?
Nervous.
Key on that is we gotta make sure we're getting that furnace in. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. You don't wanna talk about another thing you guys were talking about?
Yeah, they're closing the trail going into the plains, the upper trail. So I've been working on the lower trail and got it all done, but I had to build 4 bridges. And I need planking. And I got a quote for it, it's about $1,500.
It's gotta come out of the snowmobile money. Yep. I mean, $1,500 for planking.
Planking.
Yep, which comes out of the snowmobile contractual.
Yep.
Motion?
Yep.
Second.
Second? All discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I still have 3 old bridges that have to be planked sometime.
Let us know. That's what the contractual's there for. Better to get new planking on it and have it a safe bridge. Do you wanna bring it up now?
What's that? Oh,
We're still out at employee in parks, and one of the reasons we're out that employee in parks is he injured himself grooming on the snowmobile. Is that on the golf course or on the upper trails, back trails?
Lime kiln loop on outskirts of Brown.
we've been having some conversations back and forth about the possibility of getting rid of our older snowmobile groomer and possibly making an offer to snowmobiling for their tracked groomer and allow the snowmobiling to see if they can get a new track groomer or just let parks buy their own. But that Honda has proven itself, and Frank, before he injured himself, had been pestering me to let him drive Chip's groomer again. And quite honestly, it's a safer groomer. It's a better groomer for going out and doing the golf course and the loops, everywhere but the high trails. We're not gonna get rid of both groomers.
Probably too wide on the upper trail.
It's way too wide on the upper trails. I don't think Mr. Coruscant or us wants to take any of those that are medium track, not single track or whatever. There's one trail you could probably groom, but not.
Honestly, I think we can hit them all at this point.
Really?
Yep.
If you trim it right?
There's like maybe 1 or 2 trees you would have to get rid of. That's it.
That said, Mr. Corsani has also come to me with a proposal, and Mike actually first, on the mountain bike trails. He's willing to put it up to 60,000. You know, we've had money in our budget the last couple of years. The Black Fly has given us money the last couple of years. If we can continue in that vein and partner, they want to take that single track and bring, what's his name? Steve Abbott back.
Back from Vermont?
Is he from Vermont?
Is he from Vermont?
Oh, he's from over near Lake George, isn't it?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but he's the one that's been doing Old Forges trails, correct? He didn't. Indian Lakes trails. Lake Placid's trails?
No. Somewhere over there.
Yeah, anyways. If you've been up above Fern Park recently, the single track trails are amazing. There's no way in hell you're ever going to get me to go down them, let alone up them. But they're neat, and people are using the heck out of them. It's a big draw, and Dave wants to spread it up the hill, and I think we really need to embrace that. And he's talking about crisscrossing some of his ski trails, not using his ski trails, but he's given Mike and I a map. Anyway, the long and the short of this is I think we have a better opportunity now than in the past to take care of our trails in a more efficient manner. And one of those is with the grooming equipment and safety. As pointed out, we've been out, Frank, now for 5 months? Seems like it. 4 months? It just, labor is hard to come by, and I'd hate to see another one of our guys go down if Frank can't come back. So as we move towards the budget, I'm not asking for the money tonight, but I'm asking you to look at this budget with an open mind that I've handed you. That's all I'm asking. And these aren't wish lists. These to me fly under the necessity. And the whole reason we're able to even consider that is because of Amy. You want to go to page 11, and you guys don't have a copy of this out there, but the assessed value the last couple of years, and this isn't by doing grabs and trying to dig into people's pockets. It's the sad, unfortunate nature of what has been going on with the value of land and property in the Adirondacks, correct?
And sale values.
Sale values. It's driving everything. We went up roughly $40 million in valuation this year. Very little of that can be attributed to Rocky Point, but some of it can. There's been sales in there. That's the new buildings. They continue to bring another building online. A lot of this is driven by Lakefront, but if you received your recent tax bills, you noticed that, everybody went up a little bit. New York State wants us to maintain that 100% assessed value. Amy in her office has done that. Those kind of opportunities without raising the tax rate. Yes, the assessed value went up, but we've been holding the line in the last 4 years on the tax rate. And in my proposed budget, it still stays at $6.63 per thousand. That brought roughly $200,000 to the budget. We had a couple of things that we wanted to talk about as we moved into our budget session. There's been talks between Inlet and Webb of redoing the snowmobile permit reimbursement. Quite frankly, if they're not willing to stay with the rate that we've had for years, I'm of the mind that maybe it's time we step off of the snowmobile permit and have the free snowmobiling through the town of Inlet and like the rest of Hamilton County. Still have to maintain that department or whatever, but we have people, probably 10 to 15% of the riders right now are riding through town free anyways. I'm not looking to legitimize that other than, why have the headache of selling the permits, tracking that, if we don't need it. We have the opportunity to look at, again, the cost of living for our employees. Right now in this draft budget, I have the cost of living at 7.5%. They're talking anywhere between 9 and 11% for the cost of living at the federal level. The county is looking at doing, I believe, a 4 to 6% cost of living. They're also looking at redoing their entire scale, wage scale and step program. Again, they're simplifying it. And this is being driven by the department heads and the employees taking a hard look at what could be fair. We haven't been able to replace any employee at the county without jacking things through the roof to bring them in the door. Real world prices for people to come in and work for you are through the roof. Anyways, I'm wandering on, but that's my budget talk. When do we want to meet for the first look-see? We usually try and do it on Tuesdays. I didn't know if anybody's running out of town.
I'm running out of time.
Okay, so let's schedule it for when Herb's gone.
That's not nice.
When are you leaving, sir?
I'm leaving Friday and I'll be gone until the 2nd. So, take that and figure it out.
The Tuesday before our meeting would be what then?
Well, then the Tuesday would be the 4th.
4th, yep.
So I think that would be a great time, and we'll probably try and schedule it for like 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And if we have to work,
or whatever you want to do.
Well,
Yep.
does 5 work for you?
Yeah, you tell me when.
5? 5 work for you?
Sure.
And we'll probably do pizza and work right through the budget if we can. The things that are highlighted in funny colors, and this will be available online at some point in time, folks, before that 2nd, so everybody can take a look at it. Other than the cost of living that I tried to highlight the big numbers. There aren't a lot of movers in here other than what's highlighted. 5 o'clock on the 2nd?
The 4th?
4th. Jeez.
I got 4th.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
4th.
I looked at the wrong number.
Somehow mine changed to the 5th. Let's fix it here.
That's Yom Kippur, according to my calendar.
I don't have that on my thing. One thing that I do want to mention that you have in here that we talked about
Yes.
is fire and EMS. What we did this past year, we started a program up at the Inlet Ambulance that we would have somebody on call pretty much all the time, 24/7 through the year. Now, that's not every day, but it's most days. So somebody is available either at the station or available by call all the time. And we had to do this because it's been harder and harder to get help, harder and harder to get volunteers. And there was a lot of calls that were getting missed because we didn't have people to respond. And it's been getting kind of worse over time. So this year we set up this program. This program is costing the ambulance about $110,000 a year in payroll. So that was a big leap for us. We went from the payroll of being in the $30,000 to $40,000 range for the year to the 110. With that, we're getting a lot more coverage. Things are going pretty good, but we are in the hole this year. And I planned it that way because I wanted to prove the concept first and then come to the board and say we need more money to make this work. So I talked to John about it, and he's got a number put in there now. that, moving us from the ambulance being at $70,000 contract to 105, which would help keep us in the, green, barely. But I think it's something that we're gonna see a little bit more in the billing. The billing's been up a little bit, so that's helping. We just bought new ambulances, so we're equipped with new vehicles. We don't need to buy a new vehicle for a while. But this was a real important step. So I wanted to throw that out there so everybody knows what's going on.
For the past 5 years, I've taken the fire contract and the ambulance contract, which are separate lines in the budget every year. They're part of the taxation. And whatever the cost of living has been, I've applied that to that number. In 2021, fire and ambulance each got $67,000, and this year each got $70,000. Next year I've got slated in this draft budget $80,000 for fire, which is an increase of 10, and $105 for ambulance, which is an increase of $35,000. The fire company is getting new equipment and has need for money.
Yeah.
Things aren't getting cheaper. These are direct benefits to the community, both visitors and residents. So again, out of the increased assessed value, this is 45,000 of that 200 I was talking about. So that's a full 25% of that assessed value, to me, is being applied directly back to need and use. And if that's it.
Yeah. The fire department, they have a $500,000 truck that's gonna be delivered here in the next 3 months. Half of it's already paid for, the rest of it we got a loan for. So we're gonna have to start making payments on that, but like you said, nothing's getting cheap.
Nothing's getting cheap. All right, the 4th, 5 o'clock.
4th at 5 o'clock.
That is open to the public. If they want to come in and sit and listen to us, go back and forth. But it's not a dialogue session. It's a work session for the town board and its budget. I'm sure everybody noticed that the boat launch is closed. I was actually kind of shocked to see the sailboat back there again today. It went away yesterday and now it's back again. Oh, did you? I mean, I went by yesterday, it was gone. I'm like, okay, good, they got it out of there. And then,
The guy that owns Woodcraft Camps.
gotcha.
Bartlett?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Doug Bartlett?
But I mean, they seem to manage to be able to work around it, ripping fence down, moving gravel in. They're making it look like a work site, right, Julie?
Sounds like one too.
Does it sound like one? And for the record, I want to state again, none of us are happy with the date they picked to close it and the date they're picking to open it. But we have been asking them to do this boat launch for years. I'm sure some of us aren't happy with how it's going to be laid out, how wide it's going to be, some of these other things. But something has to give there, and this is going to be a positive step moving forward. And if anybody's boat is still trapped on the lake, there are a few marinas on the lake that will take your boat out for you or allow you to pull your boat out. But you need to negotiate yourself with them. This is a New York State DEC boat launch, not the town of Inlet's boat launch. We, like everything else, help them do their work, but it's not our boat launch.
I did ask the question of if snowmobilers are gonna be able to use that, and I know that you guys technically can't promote that, I guess, or something.
Nope.
But if it can be made public comment or record, I was told by all of the bigwigs, cause they came down for a meeting, that it will be good to go for snowmobilers.
And that's per the New York State, not the town of Inlet. I have to be crystal clear with that. None of our trails lead to the water.
Probably gonna not be working there in the middle of winter, so.
No, but again, that's New York State's property. Again, we help out down there by removing sand if they can't get their equipment down sometimes. We put the dock in and out if they can't get there to put the docks in and out. We help, but it's not our boat launch. For the record, that's gotta be in there. Thank you, Julie. I'd asked if we could do an Arrowhead Park dedication and picnic this fall. There's not gonna be time to get to that. I'd like to have a sign made for the dedication anyways, and I think I'm gonna try and reschedule that for the spring. just in case I'd made any mention of that before. I had hoped to still do the town hall sidewalks. Sean and I met with the concrete guy. I don't know if we've heard anything back from
Yep. 15,000.
15,000. And I don't know if we've heard anything back from Hamilton County as to whether or not they're willing
He
to.
called me today and he wanted to see what you decided to do before he made any other decisions.
Okay. And that's just for the concrete, the work, that's him taking everything out. That's within the boundaries. I had planned on that, hoping we were gonna be full staffing with parks. I don't wanna dump on parks on any of this, if that becomes a hindrance to your department to do that after Columbus Day.
It's probably gone. I mean, I have so much winterizing and stuff to do from Columbus Day until Patrick leaves, November 1st.
And I think we're gonna lose the Hamilton County grant if we push it off to next year.
But there might be money next year too.
There might be money next year. I think it's just better to push it off until next year. Hopefully we'll get back to full staff by then.
Being sure.
Yes. But I'd like to make sure that we hold over that money you promised me for the plastic tubing for the heat runs underneath it. Or I can just order that.
Can I just make a request on my sidewalk that it get, what's the word?
You just
word to
grind
use?
it down.
Grind it down
Just
where there's a
grind that little
little,
thing down there where there's that trip hazard.
that would be highway, right?
They have no equipment to do that.
Oh, they don't?
I've already asked.
We could ask county.
Grinder and go out there.
I'll ask Tracy at county to see if he's got an, I will ask county, Tracy if he's got anything over there.
Take a rock,
I still have on here 911 cell phone calls on all towers need to feed to Herkimer. I'm trying to get that tagged on our 2 new towers that are going up. Have you heard anything different?
No, but I'm looking for, this has to go public pretty soon, and someone's gonna have to get embarrassed.
Well, what I would suggest, cause I don't think it's gonna go anywhere.
I have an idea, but go ahead.
Well, I think that the town board should write a letter. I think the emergency services should write a letter. We should CC everybody and their brother and get it out there, what the problem is, so that everybody's on notice that there's a problem. And then I think we need to go to the state legislators. That's what I think.
I was hoping, I'm gonna have the conversation with Mark Schachner, our attorney, to see if we could pass a local law. And see if anybody would fight it or whatever.
Oh, that it has to be?
That it has to be.
Interestingly enough, I had a conversation with Ron today. And I already knew what the problem was, but we kind of talked about it back and forth. And, the problem resolves around this PSAB problem. And we don't have one. But we contract for one. We pay money to have a PSAB. Ergo, we have a PSAB because we have a contract. So we just need to explain to somebody that we do have a PSAB because we're paying for it. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do, and there's history within the park for that. I believe either Essex or Franklin. I don't know if it's Placid or Saranac Lake. Somebody has their own holdout from the county for their 911. They have their own PSAP, I believe, or they still do their own dispatching, or however that works.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that Mr. Schachner could use that as a precedent for our local law.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
do all the whereases and the wherefores.
What's the difference whether the PSAB is really yours or you've contracted for service for that PSAB? I think that's close reach. Plus, it helps us with the whole problem we have with the county and where our 911 really is, because we are contracting for service. And so all those things I think we should start pursuing. The letters, the legislature, Mark Schachner, whatever we're gonna do, I really think we're not gonna get anywhere any other way. I don't believe it.
The timing is now available, now that they're actually moving equipment in and materials and going to be digging on the road to the tower. It's been a very fragile negotiation. Denny's been a part of it all along to get the APA permit for the cell towers and everything else there. But, because we're working with two separate counties, we're working, with two private companies, we're working with ham radio, we're working with our own stuff. Now that we have that locked in via the APA permit, now we can get Mark Schachner and all that other stuff working.
But, I think all of those things could help because nobody's gonna move their needle unless we push it.
And when he's talking about the PSAB, with Hamilton County coming out with its own 911 call center.
Yes, but it's still not technically a state PSAB.
It is a PSAP, it's the lowest level of PSAP.
Yes, it's, they got all this federal funding, they've got all this federal money, and from my 14 years going over to the county, as a county legislature, I've been telling them from day one, the town of Inlet is not interested in joining on at this point in time. We don't want to be part of the trial and error, especially with the fact that we have the good working relationship with Old Forge, Racket Lake, it had it with Big Moose. We go this way. We're already in place. I understand the fact that Lake Pleasant, Indian Lake, and the others in the center, they needed it. But they're holding all the cards right now via some old statutes.
Yes.
That need to go away. I'm not gonna belabor this anymore. I'll meet with Mr. Schachner and see if we can't start drawing something up. That said, we've been venting our spleens up here. Anybody in the public got anything else they would like to say? Peggy?
I just wanted to ask if you found out anything from the county or state or whoever about the speed limit?
I don't think we've heard anything back
I
yet.
haven't heard back. I did see that Tracy sent it off to the state.
Yep.
And then there was a response that the passing zone was already approved, and therefore that's good to be eliminated.
Right, we knew that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They acknowledged it as
But they
already-
finally
yeah,
acknowledged it.
Yep, they acknowledged it.
Nothing about the speed limit,
No.
No.
Nothing with
so it's still in the works though.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, they haven't said no.
Mhm.
And now that we've asked for it, they have to do the study.
Mhm.
So.
I would like to thank the DEC for finally replacing the outhouse.
What's the saying about a picture says 1,000 words? And man, they got that done before the 90 miler too. Funny. Once again, I'd like to thank staff, highway, parks, information, police. I think we made it through another summer in good shape. It was neat seeing the new businesses open. Kind of depressing to see them close, or one of them closed tonight. We were hoping to go out afterwards. But again, it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the board, for the employees, for whatever. We really do have a neat little town here. The IABA, there isn't a single organization in town that hasn't helped. And the stuff that I've been reading out online has been refreshing. It's been about 90% positive, wouldn't you say, Julie? It's just, it's a pleasure doing this job, even if I do get too grumpy every once in a while. And again, Peggy, I'm sorry again. Talk to my wife about my grumpy sometimes. Just thank you to everybody. It's nice working here. And it's not an election year, so I'm not pandering to the audience. That said, I've got nothing for executive session. Can I have a motion to pay highway?
So moved.
Second that.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Motion to pay general and sewer? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, folks, the next meeting's on the 11th of October. We have our budget meeting on the 4th. We'll see everybody then if you're still here. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So can I sell that Zamboni on auctions international?
That's a good idea, but I don't know.
You can list it, we don't have to, you can list it anytime you want.
It's actually a good time of year to be trying to do that.
Yes, go ahead and list it. We might not be able to accept it until next month or whatever, but, yeah.
I think it goes on for.
Oh, sorry, your computer. Want your computer back?
See what it shows.
I was a little nervous that it was gonna